Chapter 4 and 5, Element 2. Identifying ASEAN Toolbox Components.
So in section 4, I think it is, we started the process of developing their understanding of what competency-based training is. There were a number of activities that they were required to do. So in the end, we wanted them to be able to describe what a common ASEAN tourism competency is, and we also wanted them to understand if there were differences between these competencies and some of the language that was used in the workplace. We looked at competency standards in terms of their use within general industry.
Okay, the Asian competency tourism now is about the 10 countries coming together to have a common standard. This common standard is described in 6 different labor divisions. Today we are here for the food and beverage.
A minimum competency standards for tourism professionals, and this standards is based from the agreed competency standards for a required task like housekeeping, front office, food and beverage service, and travel agency.
In day 3, we moved into also looking at what is competent performance. You can have a competency standard, which is a statement which describes the skills and knowledge required to perform a task or action to a defined standard. So we then had to ask the students, well, what is competent performance? It has 5 elements associated to it. It's the task skills, task management, contingency management skills, job role environment skills, and transfer skills. We then moved on and we spoke a little bit about competency-based training and why it is being used really across the world and some of the benefits associated with competency-based training and competency assessment.
When you say competent, so the person has or possesses the knowledge, skills, and attitude required to perform a specific task according to a defined standard.
Yes, this standard will enable us to actually apply across the whole country a more structured approach to training. So we do use a competency standard, but now it aligns back again the 10 countries together to have a common competency.
So once we completed that, we then started moving into the new section, which is element 2, identify ASEAN toolbox components. So now we are looking at the parts that make up the ASEAN system. So we know that there are 242 competency standards. We know that those standards have assessment, and we started to introduce them to the learning resources, which we call the toolbox. We also spoke for some period of time about the qualification framework and how that is put together. We moved on from that section about the competency itself, and then we had them working in competency groups. So provide food and beverage service competency, there was about 6, maybe 8 participants who are going to use that competency. So we asked them to bring their toolbox and identify the 3 manuals that are associated with a toolbox. That information was then dissected. They had to tell us what was inside each of those toolboxes. Again, we put them in the smaller groups, and again we asked them to put the information up on paper in a diagrammatic way such that they could understand all the parts of the toolbox. After we finished this construction, we gave them a new exercise to do. I had developed up a crossword and which looked at element number 2. So they had to go back to their trainer manual, the master trainer trainee manual, and they had to read chapter 2 or element 2, and then they had to complete the 20 questions on the crossword puzzle. By giving them the crossword puzzle, we're also suggesting to them this is just another teaching method that they would like to might consider when they conduct their own training.
From a trainer's perspective, I can just see that they're developing more confidence in one another, and I can just see them grasping the process that we're taking them through of a different training and learning process. They're a little bit frightened of the group work. They're a little bit frightened of concept maps, but they're understanding the value in going through the process themselves. They have read some of the training manuals, some of them have used toolboxes before, but I think they're truly understanding how they're working. I think they are having a hard time understanding the different training process. They've come from countries where they've been taught a different method of training and learning, so they're having to almost unlearn what they've learned. So they've been taken out of their comfort zones and they're having to face some fears. They're having to be honest and strip back to be students or participants again, and that's difficult. So I think they have struggled with that concept.